Go. Go.
Okay, so I'm gonna grab just about a golf ball sized piece of clay. Okay, I'm gonna squish it into like a baby carrot, just to kind of get it started into the kind of tapered coil that I like. And then I'm gonna use a plastic bat so that it doesn't really absorb too much moisture. You want to do this pretty quickly because your hands are going to absorb moisture too. So the less time you take, the better. So I'm going to press forward more than down. I'm going to roll this into kind of a nicer, tidier carrot. Okay, about like that. I'm going to pick the end off. Sometimes there's a little air bubble in there. I'm going to hold on to the fat end, and then I'm going to throw it straight down. Okay, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to throw it straight down again in a different spot. Don't throw it back down on the same spot or else it'll stick. I'm going to take the squishy part of my hand and just kind of softly round those corners. I'm not really trying to change the shape too much, but what I want is this kind of rounded top here, and it could be flat on the back. Give it a little bit of a grip and dip it in the water. Okay, there's a couple hand positions that I like to use. One is the alligator, okay, and that goes around the clay, and you pull this way. That flattens the clay. I try to keep it up in here. I'm not using my fingertips like that. I'm kind of using the side of my finger as I pull. There's an okay, or kind of like milking the cow. And this kind of goes around like this, and you kind of squeeze like this and taper that way. There is a modified okay, which kind of, you can do this and form a triangle with your hands. And that defines this top ridge, or it'll round the back of the handle. There's one called a sock puppet that I end up doing instead of the alligator. It's kind of like this, and it kind of goes right here, and then this finger kind of flattens. You always want to rotate it. So this handle's starting to curve this way. That's because I'm showing you one side and I'm pulling on this side. So I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees and pull on the other side. I'm going to alternate between the different methods. Okay, I'm rotating it. Now I'm doing the okay, or milking the cow. Now I'm going to do a little bit of modified okay to kind of define that ridge. I have kind of a groove down the back here, so I'm going to do the modified okay on the back side of that. Now you need to flatten it a little bit. You want to do most of the tapering before you flatten. If you flatten it and you try to taper it, it's just going to fold over itself. So now I'm going to flatten it a little bit and do the sock puppet, maybe a little alligator. I alternate between. What's that?
There's the name of the post.
Yeah. So alligator, okay, or milking the cow, and then the modified okay, which looks like a triangle, and that gives that ridge in the middle where it rounds the back, and then the sock puppet's more like this, and that goes around the clay like that. So I have a bunch of them that I switch between, and I'm always like holding the handle up in front of me as I pull, and I'm watching what's happening. If it starts moving this way, then I rotate it, and I start pulling down like that, because your hand goes this way, the handle wants to kind of follow your hand. So you keep rotating it, you do the front, the back. If you just do on one side, you'll have a fat side over here and a thin side over here, so you just want to keep rotating through. I'm pretty much done with this. When you're done, take a little of the slip from your hand. I just dipped my hand in the water, which was not that bright, since I was pretty much done with the handle. The last thing I'm going to do, actually, I forgot to mention this, is kind of cradle the hand, or the handle in my hand like that, and then I put my thumb here, and I just do a quick strike down it, and then you get that lump, or the kind of ridge on the top. That's subtle, but when the glaze forms around it, it'll break a little bit, and you'll be able to see it, but you won't really be able to feel it all that much. But I like the ridge in the middle because it fits right in here, whereas if you have a groove down the middle, you have two ridges, and then they poke into that bone right there. So it's more ergonomic, in my opinion. So I'm going to take a little of that slip, I'm going to put it on top. Here's the top of the handle, and I'm going to take the handle, I would normally do this over here if I was actually going to keep this handle. I'm going to take it like this, I'm going to turn it around, and then I'm not going to squeeze this way, I'm just going to press down. Okay, I didn't squeeze, I just pressed. Okay, and that'll stick. Yeah, you need that slip on there. If you stick it on a drop of water like that, it'll just fall right off. If you don't use the slip, if it's dry, it'll just fall right off. You have to use the slip from your hand when you're pulling. That's the magical part.
I thought that was pretty wet, but the fact that it's holding its arch is not really that wet.
That's sad.
I mean, I think I've tried that and it just goes.
There's a decent amount of thickness here. Not like a crazy amount. Like I want the handle to feel sturdy, but not look bulky. So there's that kind of fine line. And usually this edge will kind of echo like the rim of my pot. It'll have that about the same thickness or feel as that. I'll go through it one more time. So a golf ball sized piece of clay. Okay. It's about 4 ounces of clay if you want to be super particular about it. We'll squeeze it into, it might actually be, no, that's 4. Okay, squeeze it into a baby carrot and push forward. Pick off the end. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit more. Slap it down. Slap it down. Round the top with the squishy part of my hand here. Make a little grip on the top. It's not much of a grip, it's just kind of a little bit of a grip. Okay? If you squeeze it too much, then it's just going to come apart. And then I'm going to go through, hold it with my left hand, and use my right hand to pull. I'm going to keep it up in front of me in quick pulls. It's not petting a handle, it's pulling a handle, as I like to say. So quick pulls. You notice I'm not dipping the handle in the water each time. Kind of going through. This is a modified OK. A little bit of the OK or milking cow. Do a couple swipes like that. Maybe a little alligator.
Are those your terms or those
Those are terms that I kind of made up to kind of like.
So you vary, you go back and forth.
I go between all of them, yeah. All right, and then one more handle that I like to do. It's actually the handle that I use more often.
1 minute. And I think
With a handle that's too small.
David, can you hold off on that for just like maybe 1 more minute, please? Thank you. All right, so this is a center taper handle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get a little bit more clay than I did with the single taper handle. Kind of squeeze it into a log instead of a baby carrot. I'm going to roll in the middle. So instead of rolling over here, I'm going to kind of roll out here. I'm going to roll right in the middle. I kind of press my middle finger down a little bit more than everything else. Once I start to get this kind of bow tie shape, okay, I'm going to V my hands. When I roll, I'm pushing forward more than I'm pushing down, okay? I want to get a nice taper, kind of looks like a dog bone in the middle. Then I'm going to flatten the end, I'm going to flatten the other end, and then I'm going to flatten through. Okay? And then I'm going to use the squishy part of my hand and round that top part.
You only do that one side.
Hmm?
You don't flip it over. and
No,
do
because
one
it'll
side
just
too.
flatten the other side. Okay, so this one is actually mostly the modified OK. Okay, so I'm mostly doing this one. And let's see, which end should I dip? I guess it doesn't matter because I'm going to be dipping both ends. You have to make sure that you start out with a grip. You want to have a decent amount of grip at the ends. You don't want to have a ton of clay. If you have a ton of clay, it's just going to pull it. It's just going to stretch it out too much in the middle. So there's enough clay to hold on to and enough of a grip, but you also don't want to squeeze it. So there's like this kind of fine line that you have to play with here. So I'll dip the handle, and then I'm just going to kind of go through, and I'm kind of mostly cradling here and squeezing between here and here, and that'll give me the size that I'm looking for. Because I want to kind of like it, because I hold on the handle like this, I want it to fit right there, right in that spot. So I modified okay, and I turn it. Go from the other side. Go through the middle. Turn it. Go through the middle. I'm defining these areas. So it's kind of modified okay. I do a little bit of this, kind of taper it. Continuously turn it.
I'm sure you can have some things.
Alright, and so once I get the handle to about the right size, I'm just going to turn it like that and stick it onto the table and let it dry as an arch.
So now what does that handle look like when you put it on something?
Like that.
Yeah.
So it has a bulky attachment and a bulky attachment, and then tapers to something that's very comfortable in the middle. It looks a lot stronger just because it has those two wider attachments, even though it's a little bit thinner than my other handles would be in the middle.
But it feels better to you when you.
For me, yeah, I like the feel of these handles.
And just the bulky stuff at the top and bottom, is that what's on the ends of the handle there, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, I cut it off right about here,
Uh-huh.
and then I actually paddle some bulk into it a little bit more. So that's about it. So, and cut.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.